It was a weekend of rugby like no other. It was mate against mate and brother against brother. The Irish nearly stole the gold. The Six Nations is the French to hold. And the English cry home to their mothers. Hello and welcome to the Rugby Roundup with Big Mike here on March 18th, 2026. It is I, Big Mike, here at Big Mike Rugby. Now let's get talking about our beautiful game. Looking forward to this weekend, we have the return of the URC proper, Premiership Rugby, and the top 14. Now I'm joined today by the littlest member of the Big Mike Rugby family, right on cue. Been homesick with his mother all day, and now all he wants to do is learn about all that greatness that happened in the world of rugby over the weekend. But enough of all that. Let's get to the roundup and our big four results from last weekend. We are going to start with our upset of the weekend, which came in the Rugby Europe Championship final. This one was Georgia and Portugal. Georgia going into this one as the big favourites, a 43-match unbeaten run in this competition, taking on Portugal, looking for their first win at this level since 2004. It was 12-3 at the half to Georgia. They got up to a 17-9 lead late in the second half. Portugal got yet another penalty, the fourth one of the game, to make it 17-12. And then hands through the back line out to the right wing. Portugal scored. They got a phenomenal conversion kick and they ended up holding on to the lead. And after 22 years, Portugal sits on top of the Rugby Europe Championship throne after winning 19 points to 17 over the heavily favoured Georgians. Now our beatdown of the week. This one takes us to the Premiership Rugby Cup final. The English teams have been competing for this one, a secondary title, in their homeland. It was Leicester, it was Exeter, the two teams that came top of the table in their respective pools. However, after 35 minutes, it was 35-0 to Leicester, and by the end of this one, 66 points to 14, Leicester over Exeter, taking the Premiership Rugby Cup Championship in the process. Now, our scrap of the week takes us to Japan League 1 Division 1. Two of those teams going into the weekend who were 9 wins and 1 loss. I know, Bubba. It was the top of the table Kubota Spears taking on the third place Saitama Wild Knights. Back and forth through the first half, the Wild Knights went into halftime leading 15 points to 10. It was 17-15 to the Spears soon in the second half. A penalty took it to 18-17 for the Wild Knights before the Spears got out to a 27-18 lead. A converted try in the 70th minute made this one 27-25. Bernard Foley scoring a 73rd minute penalty to get them up by 5 points. Then, in the 82nd minute, we got a try. We got a conversion. The Wild Knights stole this one at the death. They took it 32 points to 30. And finally, our game of the week. I don't even know how to talk about this one, so we will just go through the scoring. It was the final game in the Six Nations. If France won, they took the championship. So, Louis Biel-Biarri scored a try early. Then the English responded. It was 7-5 to France. Louis Biel-Biarri scored another try before the English responded, but did not get the conversion. That's 2 missed conversions to Finn Smith early. It was 14 points to 10. A Tomas Ramos penalty in the 23rd minute took it to 17-10. Before 2 converted tries and a penalty for the English gave them the 27-17 lead. I know, it's a roller coaster, Bubba. A penalty try in the 44th minute, still in the first half, and Alice Genn, yellow card, gave this one a 27-24 half-time score in England's favour. Then out of the half, who should score but Louis Biel-Biarri? A converted try, followed by another converted try for France, gave them the 38-27 lead at the 50th minute. It was another unconverted try for the English, 38-32. Then Marcus Smith crossed over, and Marcus Smith, he's half Filipino. With 20 minutes left, England were leading 39-38. Who should score again for the French? I think you know by now. Say it, Bubba. Louis Biel-Biarri. Converted try. Tomas Ramos. Laser point off the tee. Tommy Freeman got a converted try himself, 77th minute. England leading by a point before Tomas Ramos made the call in the 83rd minute to go for the penalty. If he got it, the French were the Six Nations champions. And you know what? He got it in those beautiful light blue throwback jerseys. The French took this game 48 points to 46. Many are calling it the greatest game of rugby they've ever seen, but clearly they haven't seen the All Blacks versus Australia at the Olympic Stadium in the mighty year 2000. All right, now let's get to the rest of the international results. Continuing with the Six Nations, we know that France won the competition with that 48-46 win in that final game. They had to win because Ireland earlier bet Scotland 43-21. The Scottish fairy tale could not continue. They got handily beat in Dublin by the Irish. But please remember that even if the Scottish won with a bonus point, thanks to that French win, they wouldn't have taken the championship. Then it was our streak breaker match. Either Wales were to win their first game in the Six Nations for a few years, or Ireland were to win their third game in the Six Nations for the first time ever. Bubs, it's okay, you're not Welsh or Italian. Half-time, Wales are up 21-0. They got up to 31-0 after 48 minutes. They held on to that lead, eventually winning 31-17. Streak breakers go to the Dragons of Wales. Rugby Europe Championship finals weekend. We already mentioned that Portugal got the huge upset against Georgia in the third place game. Spain scraped away with one as they took it to Romania 29-23. Fifth place final. As expected, Belgium took this one over Switzerland 39-16. And Germany, despite beating Romania in their first game, came 8th place out of 8, losing to the Dutch 76 points to 7. To club rugby results now, and we had our 3 catch-up games in the URC. Ulster took it to Edinburgh 40 points to 19. Connacht got a convincing 31-14 victory over Scarlets, and the Stormers bet the Bulls 32-19. The Bulls are still holding on to 8th place, just over Connacht. It's okay, we like the South Africans, Bubba. But the Stormers are in 2nd place. All the teams have played 12 games. Glasgow up the top. Stormers in 2nd, Ulster in 3rd, Leicester in 4th. No games in our top 14, but we did see No, we didn't. There weren't any games in D2 either. They've got a week off this weekend as well. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, the Premiership Rugby Cup final, Leicester 66, Exeter 14. Japan League 1 Division 1 game results now. Saitama Wild Knights, as mentioned before, 32-30 over the Kubota Spears. The Honda Heat went down to the Cannon Eagles 31-26. Another close one is the Black Rams beat the Blue Revs 37-33. Kobe Steelers dominating the competition 61-10 over the Mitsubishi Dynaboars. Toyota Verblitz are continuing their blitz for the top 6 as they beat the D-Rocks 59-19. And what's going on with Brave Lupus? They went down to Tokyo Sun Goliath 60-21. Kobe Steelers sitting top of the table, followed by the Wild Knights, the Spears, Sun Goliath, Black Rams, and Brave Lupus just holding on to their spot in the top 6. Super Rugby saw 5 games on the weekend, and none of them were too close. The Hurricanes beat the Force 31-23. The Fijian Drua won in Bar, their first ever game in Bar. It was raining, and they beat the heavily favoured Brumbies 42-27. I know, it's okay, Bubba. He's just upset because he lives close to Canberra. Crusaders beat the Highlanders 29-18. Reds beat the Waratahs 26-17. He's just upset because he lives close to Sydney. And our mighty Blues 43-7 victors over Moana Pacifica. Top of the table, we've got the Hurricanes, the Blues and the Brumbies all on 15 points. But the Blues and the Brumbies have played an extra game. Chiefs, Reds and the Waratahs round out our top 6. Round 4 of Super Rugby Americas. Penarol got back on the horse again. 38-20 over the Cobras. Tarukas went down 43-22 to Pampas. Capybaras snuck away with one against Yakade, 12 points to 13. And Selknam went down big to Dogos. Is that your Dogos noise? Oh, Dogos. 68-0. No teams are undefeated. Our top 4 teams remain our Argentinian teams. Dogos, Pampas, Capybaras, and Tarukas. Can you say that? Tarukas. Very crap. That was not a good way of saying Tarukas. Round 2 of the SA Cup. Remember that the top 4 teams in this competition go to the... I know this is not how South Africa rugby should work, but the 4 teams in the URC get the preference. I'm so angry about it too. It's a horrible system. Free State Cheetahs beat the Leopards 64 points to 7. The Pumas beat Eastern Province 47-10. Griquas continuing their momentum, beating Valta 52-15. The Eagles 57, the Border Bulldogs 22. And the Boland Cavaliers beat the Griffins 56-23. Griquas, the Boland Cavaliers and the Pumas sit top of the table, all with maximum points from their 2 games. The Border Bulldogs and the Leopards, nah, they got nothing so far. Now we're going to talk about some women's rugby. Yeah! Well, that's just not respectful at all. Premiership women's rugby. 43-33 was the score between the Local Lightning and the Harlequins. Trailfinders went down to the Exeter Chiefs 47-14. Sale Sharks beat the Leicester Tigers 62-3. And in our last game, Gloucester Hartpury. Oh my God, somehow they got a bonus point win in this one, beating Saracens 22-17. Gloucester Hartpury, maximum points, top of the table. Saracens, Exeter Chiefs and the Harlequins are behind them. The 7 series hit New York. Once again in the women's, it was New Zealand versus Australia in the final. New Zealand taking this one. Oh, he's so conflicted. Kiwi dad, Australian mum. I know, but guess who won, Bubs? Guess who won? New Zealand! And we won 22 points to 21. Oh. The New Zealand team take the competition with rounds to spare. 3rd place game, USA. Oh my God, he just ripped off my diabetes sensor. What a fantastic grip he's got. Maybe he's going to be a pincher. He might be a flanker. Yep, he can be a 6 or a 7. I don't know where I was. The USA beat Fiji in the 3rd place playoff 26-15. New Zealand unable to get caught at the top after winning 5 out of 6 competitions so far. Finals of the men saw South Africa scrape it out against Fiji 10 points to 7 as Argentina beat Australia 26-10 in the third place playoff. Close one up the top, South Africa sitting on top with 106 points over Fiji on 104. Australia, New Zealand and France are all playing for third place. Quickly about the big man, Big Mike here. Big Mike Rugby's the name. If you want me to talk about any games, any teams, any competitions, best way to hit me up. Instagram, TikTok, under where you're listening to the podcast. Let's get back to it. Now let's look forward to this weekend in rugby. No international men's games of note. Next weekend sees Australia playing Fiji in women's rugby. So let's go to the club rugby games around the world. The URC is back, with Glasgow Stormers, Ulster and Leinster all fighting for that top spot, Cardiff not too far off, and Munster in 6th also keeping up. The Lions, the Bulls, Connacht and Ospreys are all fighting for the bottom 2 spots. Of the top 8, Sharks, Edinburgh, Benetton and Dragons all have a chance if they play phenomenally, and the Scarlets and Zebre are not technically out, but pretty damn close. It is round 13 this week. There are 6 rounds left. Bulls are taking on Cardiff in a 5th to 8th battle. Bottom of the table clash, Scarlets and Zebre. Ulster and Connacht have a battle in Ireland. All 4 of the Irish teams still have a chance of making the top 8. It's the Lions taking on Edinburgh, Sharks are taking on Munster, Benetton base Ospreys. Top 4 battle as Glasgow take on Leinster. Depending on how that one goes, if the Stormers get a big win over Dragons in the final game of the week, they could end up top of the table. Jumping to France now, everyone's played 18 games each. Toulouse very clear at the top of the table, Pau in 2nd. Montpellier, Clermont, Bordeaux and Stade Francais Paris round out our top 6. Toulon, Racing 92, Castres, La Rochelle and Lyon all within reach. It's Clermont taking on Montpellier, Racing 92 taking on Castres, Toulon versus Stade Francais Paris, Montauban versus Bayonne, Perpignan taking on Lyon, La Rochelle versus Pau, and the big one, the rivalry of all rivalries, Bordeaux taking on Toulouse. The Premiership is also back with 8 rounds left. Northampton and Bath sit at the top of the table. Bristol and Leicester round out our top 4. Exeter and Saracens within reach. Bath are taking on Saracens. Harlequins are taking on Gloucester. Northampton facing the bottom of the table, Newcastle. Exeter versus Salé. And Leicester versus Bristol. A few intriguing games in that one. Japan League 1, Division 1, Round 12. Top of the table, Kobe Steelers looking to stay there with a game against Cannon Eagles. It's the Mitsubishi Dynaballs versus Tokyo Sun Goliath. Can the Wild Knights continue their momentum against a red-hot Black Rams? D-Rocks are taking on a wounded Kubota Spears. Brave Lupus are trying to hold on to their top 6 spot against the Honda Heat as the Voya Blitz of Toyota are on their tail when they take on the Shizuoka Blue Revs. Super Rugby games this weekend is Highlanders versus Hurricanes, the Brumbies versus the Chiefs in Canberra. That'll be good. Brumbies are hurt after 2 losses on the trot. First to the Reds and then away from home against The Drua are at home against the Reds. Moana Pacifica are taking on the Crusaders, and in the final game of the week, I'm heading to Sydney as the Waratahs host the Blues. The SA Cup in South Africa continues as well. It is the Griquas taking on the Border Bulldogs, the Griffins versus the Leopards, Eastern Province versus the Eagles, the Boland Cavaliers taking on Valka, and the Cheetahs versus the Pumas. Round 5 of Super Rugby Americas sees Dogos taking on Penarol, Selknam taking on the Capybaras, Yakare versus Tarukas, and Cobras hosting Pampas. Next week we also see the return of Major League Rugby with its 6 teams left standing. Another round, we've got round 15 of Premiership Women's Rugby as the Harlequins take on the Trailfinders, Leicester Tigers host the Exeter Chiefs, Loughborough Lightning take on Gloucester Hartpury, and the Saleh Sharks host the Bristol Bears. No sevens to speak of this weekend. So, that's going to bring us to Big Mike's big 3 games of the weekend coming up. If you've only got time to watch one, see one, follow one, whatever. Maybe make sure it's one of these guys. In Super Rugby, we're going with the big one in Canberra as the Brumbies take on the Chiefs. Early on in the season, these 2 teams look like the teams to beat. Let's see if the Chiefs can take it to the Brums in Canberra, or they can hold on to their fortress that they let slip against the Reds. I'm picking the Brumbies just. Our big one in the URC takes us to Glasgow, as the Glasgow Warriors are looking to hold on to their top of the table spot against Leinster, doing what Leinster do and rampaging towards the end of the season. They're currently sitting in 4th. Bonus point win in this one could leapfrog Glasgow and take them into a higher position. But in saying that, I'm still picking Glasgow in a tight one. And our last big game of the week, it's Bordeaux versus Toulouse, the big rivalry in France. Toulouse is sitting on top of the table. They're comfortable. There's going to be a lot of players hurting after the Six Nations. Will they be jumping back into the squads? We do not know. I'm picking Bordeaux to take this one. And that is us for another week. Oh boy, rugby's getting juicy. A lot of competitions are coming down to the pointy end. But we've also got MLR coming back next week. The 7 series will be continuing at some point, and in a couple of weeks' time we'll be previewing the next round of the Challenge Cup and the Champions Cup. But between now and then, I hope you all have a beautiful week. And you go and watch some beautiful rugby.